With the coming of patch 0.10.1, there was a change in flak mechanics, and I released a video discussing this, and it seemed a lot of people had questions about AA in general. So I figured I would make an AA explanation series, and we'll start with continuous damage. What is continuous damage? So looking at a really well-known ship, the Worcester, if we look over in the AA section of the port, and this is I don't have the ship, I don't have a commander, there's no upgrades in this ship right now. This is just a basic hull. If we look at continuous damage, it says 385. All this is kind of an average of the three values that we're about to talk about. There's short range AA, there's medium range AA, and long range AA. And all of these firing ranges can vary from one ship to the next. But for the Worcester, it's fairly simple. The short range goes out to 2 kilometers, the mid range goes out to 4, and the long range goes out to 6.9. Now, the numbers that we're going to discuss are slightly different, just because there is a hit probability of 85% or 90% in the medium and long range, which reduces the output by 10 or 15%. I'm not exactly sure if it adds any small amount of variance to it, as in like, did it hit 100% this time, but only 85% that time? But for the most part, the numbers are going to be what's represented. As you enter the long range, you're going to take the long range number, the 137. As you enter into the medium, you're going to take the medium and long range together. And then as you enter the short range, all three will be on top. And I've got a visual representation that we're going to look at to try to explain this better. So if we're using rocket planes from a Hakuryu, the Hakuryu rocket planes have 1760 health HP, and that's per plane. Midway, 1960 for the Tiny Tim variant, and Audacious, 2,530 per plane on the rockets for those ships. As we enter, and we breach the outer line of AA, we enter into the long range of the Worcester, and they start to take 137 damage per second. This cannot be dodged. It cannot be mitigated outside of a skill and the commander talent thing, which will reduce it by 10%. But there's no other way to mitigate or alter or reduce this damage outside of that one commander skill. So as we're flying from 6.9 down to the 4 kilometer, however we fly, however long we take 137 damage per second while we're in this zone. When we breach the 4 kilometer, we take an additional 434 damage per second, or it's been calculated down here, 571 damage per second. This cannot be dodged. This automatically hits. The only thing that can reduce it is the commander talent that reduces it by 10% if you took the talent. And then as we get closer within the 2 kilometers, it goes up even further as another 144 damage per second is applied, causing 715 damage per second against the plane. If we linger in the long range protection of a ship, we can actually sustain quite a bit of damage. For instance, the Hakuryu rocket plane could survive out in this area for something like 15 seconds before a single plane has died. In the medium range area with 571, it can survive a little over 3 seconds. And then in the short range with 715, it can survive shortly about 2.5. If the Worcester uses defensive fire, that consumable is going to increase the continuous by 50%, bringing it up to 201.5, 856.5, and 1072.5 respectively, which is going to reduce the amount of time that the plane could live by about 50%. These can of course also be buffed by the slot 6 mod, which can increase AA output by 15%, the commander's skill, which can increase it by a further 20%, and priority sector, which we'll talk about in a later video.